Thank you all so much for joining us today. I'm going to just take a minute, introduce myself, talk about kind of the flow of the event today, and then let Gabrielle and Lisa also introduce themselves before we jump in. But again, thank you so much for joining us today. I've been a freelancer for 10 plus years now, and I'm also the co-founder of Harlow. So Harlow is a home for freelancers, and what we do is we help freelancers find new clients and grow thriving businesses. We do that through a number of different ways. We have a job board that drops new jobs daily. We have a newsletter that curates opportunities for freelancers and shares resources and tools. We have an all-in-one product where you can manage your business, where you can send proposals and invoices and get paid.
Yeah.
Growth Accelerator, which is really more of like one-on-one support for those freelancers who want like really tailored guidance on how to grow their business, and a ton of resources, and of course, periodic events like this one. So I am super stoked for you all to be here today, talking to the three of us. And what we're trying to do today is we're really focusing on helping you get from that, like, I'm barely making it, this business doesn't quite feel sustainable, to I am thriving and I feel like I'm in control of my business and I know that I have a future here, right? So we're going to be covering topics that range from how to lock in new clients, how to break through sometimes like those mindset barriers that are really holding us back, all the way to like systems and the foundation for creating a business that grows with you, right? So, just some housekeeping items. We'll be here for about an hour today. This event is recorded. So, just an FYI for everyone, this is recorded. We'll be sending out a recording and follow up post event. And we're going to start with some questions that have already come in and that have been asked in the past or that we've experienced through one medium or another. But if you have questions, we are going to take some time at the end of the session today to dive into those. Please send those over in the Q&A specifically. I know we're doing like a lot of chat over here and like saying hi, and we're sending our LinkedIn profiles and saying where we're from. That's great. But if you have specific questions that you want us to dive into, send those over in the Q&A box. And so now, before we dive in, I'm going to hand it over to you, Gabrielle, and introduce yourself, and then we'll let Lisa introduce herself.
Thanks so much, Sam. My name's Gabrielle Tenaglia. I run the marketing team at Lettuce. I have run my own business 4 different times during the course of my career. In fact, today I am a fractional CMO and I run a fully fractional team at Lettuce. So I'm a big believer in the power that freelancers and consultants can bring to the table, and I'm excited to talk to you all today.
Amazing. And Lisa, we'll hand it over to you.
I'm Lisa Dini. I am a consultant that helps brands maximize their relationships. So, full transparency, Lettuce is one of my clients, and I work with them on helping to connect to great places like Harlow and do events like today. But also, I work with brands and helping to maximize their agency relationships to make sure they're getting the most out of them, get through rough spots, and connect the dots with their other activities.
Amazing. So, all three of us have been freelancing for, years now. We've been through the ebbs and flows, we've been through the repositioning, we have been through the process of trying to figure out what freelancing means to us, right? And how to make it into a career and how to make it sustainable. So, I am stoked to have Gabrielle and Lisa here today. So, one of the things that I want to start off with is something that I consistently remind freelancers of, and that is that confidence and growth often comes from clarity. Okay, so I just kind of want to start and take a step back. So what I always tell my crew is to get crystal clear on your unique value proposition and what you're doing, right? So to be successful freelancing, you have to know what you offer and to whom and what the outcome is, right? We as freelancers, we are service providers, we are selling outcomes and we are selling something to a business. So, Gabrielle and Lisa, I would love to kick off with you two and just have you walk us through like your elevator pitches and how you position yourself. Lisa, you actually just did it kind of proactively for me, which is great. But I would love to just like chat through this, how you position yourself and how you make it crystal clear to potential clients what you offer and why they should work with you.
Lisa, do you want to go? You
Sorry,
start. You
I'm
started, so why don't
I'm
you keep
kind
going?
of to just set the stage a little bit, maybe to take pressure off everyone. I ironically started this consulting chapter because I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I was like, I'm going to go out there and experiment and try to get projects that are within my wheelhouse, but maybe stretch me a little bit to see what sparks and sticks.
Love
And
that.
then to that point of repositioning, I'm going through it right now. Because one of the things that I have found, because through that experimenting, I have found what jazzes me the most. And so I'm trying to figure out like how to then put the words to the paper and make sure that there's a market for it just right now, like just this week even. I've been working on it. So it's an ever evolving process, I would say to everybody. And you don't have to have it all figured out right away. I've been out on my own now for almost 4 years. Um,
I I love that so much because that is like that's a great testament to even if you start somewhere when you're freelancing, you're not committing to what you're going to be doing for the next 5, 7, 10 years, right? Like you can change, you can shift, you can identify, market needs and move your business however you want to. Like that's the entire purpose of freelancing is that you have flexibility and freedom to do the things that light you up and build a business around it. So Lisa, I love that you're just like, you know what? I started somewhere 4 years ago. I tested a bunch of things, and today I've kind of figured out what works for me, but now I'm building the framework around that, right? I love that.
I will say too, it's a benefit of being on your own. Melissa Lieberman, who's a coach that we work with at Lettuce, said to me when we were in the middle of working on something for the Solo Summit, she's like, the best part about being on your own is you don't have to have 10 people, you just go and create it.
Yes.
So we can just go do it. And there's a lot of power in that.
There's
So the
no approval
original.
process. You decide. You don't need anyone's permission or approval.
I
Just
love
finish.
that.
So are we back at the original question was elevator pitch?
Yeah, Gabrielle, so I know that you're right now, you're a fractional CMO. How do you
Yep.
pitch yourself to clients?
I am a marketing effective expert. I bring to the table audience insights and positioning that can make your marketing more competitive. And I deliver strategy for executing messages through the funnel that drive conversions at every stage. I have right now a specialty in working with startups. I have worked with a lot of bigger companies, but because I'm based in the Bay Area and because my network is very startup focused or early stage company focused, I find that positioning myself as someone who has expertise in that space works well for me. Um, at some point, if I need to shift, I could shift that and shift the way I position myself. I've worked in big organizations like Audi and Intel and Xbox and um, can do that work as well. But part of being successful, I think, as a solo is knowing how to position yourself so someone can be very specific and say like, oh, she can solve the problem that I have today. So she's who I want to come in and solve this problem. Um, and like you just said, Sam, if I want to change that, I can change it. And I got here in my process was similar to Lisa. I've done this a few times and I have done a lot of work and there have been times when I've been just like I have to take whatever work comes my way. I'm going to say yes and just do it. And found myself spending time doing things for clients that I was okay at, but not great at, and thinking like they could pay someone half what they're paying me to do this better and faster. Like maybe I should do something else and I can help them find someone to do this piece of the work.
Yeah.
Um, but it's not the thing that I'm best at. And I think you kind of are able to use some trial and error to get yourself where you need to be. Like you can experiment. Just like, I tell my clients like, well, here's some messaging experiments we could do. Let's find out what works best. You can do some messaging experiments too.
Yeah. I love I love that you touched on that because one of the things that I talk to freelancers about a lot is it's as much about what you don't want to do as what you do want to do, right? And so you mentioned, there have been times where you've just taken projects because you felt hungry for work. And you're like, no, I'm just going to take this and I can probably do it and I can probably figure it out. But the truth is you're probably not really enjoying that work, right? Because you're like, hey, I took something that encompasses these 10 things. I actually really only enjoy five of them, right? And so I think that's one of the things that a lot of people do, especially at the beginning of their freelance career, is they're like, I'm going to make myself fit this thing that this company is looking for. And you don't have to do that, right? If somebody comes to you and they're like, hey, these are my needs, you can say, I fit these four needs really, really well. And I can do that. And I'm the right person. These three things are not for me, but I can help you find somebody else to come in and do those, right? Like, I think a lot of times we're like, yeah, we can do everything and we can do it well and we sell ourselves, but we're really kind of like hurting ourselves by doing that because we're kind of burning ourselves out, right? If we're doing work that we don't enjoy and we're doing work that's not really like our forte or what lights us up, you start to feel a little bit like run down and like, you want your client to get value, but you also want to get value from that work, right? So I think when freelancers are going in and when you're trying to identify your elevator pitch or what you do and who you're selling to, a great exercise to go through is saying also what don't I want to do and who don't I want to work with because that's sometimes just as important as what you do want to do.
Yeah, there's some good questions in the chat actually that kind of get at this. One woman is saying that in the writing world, the roles are so niche focused. They want you to fit exactly in this tiny little box. And someone else saying, how do you create a pitch? How do you overcome the kind of imposter syndrome that you might feel after a layoff, which I can completely empathize with.
Yep.
Uh, and and how do you position yourself as someone who can do the job better or more effectively? And if I think it just about and I hear these stories all the time, right? I do this work, I talk to people who are freelancing or consulting or starting businesses and trying to figure out how to get there. And there are some great resources out there. We did, and you spoke at this conference, we did a conference for solos in February, and all of that content is um, on our site, and maybe Megan can drop the link in the chat. And there are some folks like yourself. I mean, Sam, you do a great job coaching people and helping them figure out their niche and how to get started. There are some, and you spoke at the conference. There are some other folks also who have great insights about how to do that. There's someone who spoke at our conference. His name is Wes Wheelis, and he talks about figuring out what your personal IP is and figuring out a really concise way to talk about it. Like there is something. And if you think back, he has a process to help you go through it and he talks about it. But if you think about your own personal experience and what you've enjoyed most and done best in your career, there is something you are great at.
Yes.
And if there is a way for you to pull those things together into a story that you can pitch. And part of it is thinking about what you've done and what you have a story about. And part of it is thinking about like what lights you up.
Yeah.
What are you most excited to do? And I think especially for Heidi, there is uh, a woman who we work with who you also know, Sam. Her name is Jenny Gritters, and she's a writer.
Love
And
Jenny. Mhm.
she's really great at helping. She spoke at our conference, and she is really great at helping writers. And she's sort of a former journalist, and I think there's a lot of folks like that out there who are trying to figure out how to use their writing skills but in a way that is more commercially viable today. And there are I agree with you, Heidi, that cattle call situation where 180 people are struggling for writing jobs, and taking less money for really good work. There's a way to figure out how to use your writing skills to do something that is both satisfying and economically viable. The cattle call does not sound like the best path. I agree.
Yeah.
One thought, Gabrielle, that as you were talking, and, again, because I think I'm in this sweet spot of what we're talking about today, as I've been thinking about the recalibration of my business, is if we think of ourselves as a business, sometimes you need to take a couple steps back or do some investment to move yourself forward. And that may mean investment of your time. So, for example, for myself, I am working on repositioning myself as someone that can help brands and PR agencies specifically, do better work together. Because what I am finding in the market is these poor marketing directors have to do everything from performance to PR, these small and mid-sized companies. And arguably some of the best PR agency work is being done by smaller agencies who can really bang out the media relations. And what gets lost in there sometimes is just the strategic thinking of how do we get all this started? How do we sell that into the bigger corporation? And that's my background. I did it on the agency side for 15 years and was frustrated when I came out of that situation that those jobs didn't exist. So I thought, well, maybe I can fill this hole as a consultant. And I've done it with a couple clients. And so I'm going to try to push more there. Okay, so the too long didn't read. One of the things I'm thinking about is also training agencies and doing that at a discount for some agency partner friends, because I've got to build the training anyways.
Yep.
It will give me some feedback. It will put my ear to the ground, and it won't be what I ultimately want to price it at in the next 6 months, but it will get me started. So to that question of like, your people are looking for health and wellness writers, are there places where maybe it makes sense to invest time? Not too much, because I know we all have to pay our bills, but where you can see it in a way where it can build to get you to where you want to be.
Yeah, I want to touch on that as well, kind of both of these points, right? Like the frustration of like responding to like, the cattle call and having, 100 people respond to something on LinkedIn and send their portfolio and you're one of many. One of the things that I work with freelancers a lot on is flipping that. So rather than you going out and trying to find the work, positioning yourself and promoting yourself so that the work is coming to you, right? That is really one of our ultimate goals as a freelancer and as any business, right? Like we, fortunately or unfortunately, whether you are a marketer or salesperson or not, when you are a freelancer, you are both. You are the skill set or the job that you provide. You're your own marketing team and you're your own sales team, right? And so I hear a lot of people who struggle with inconsistent client pipeline and they're going out to try to find the work other places. What I really try to work with people on is creating sustainable, low stress self promotion strategies, right? And that kind of like the first thing that we talked about, which is really like, nail it, trying to nail your elevator pitch. What do you do? Who do you do it for? What value to provide, and why should someone work with you? And then figuring out how to get that in front of the right people. I work with a ton of freelancers who I talked to them maybe in our first growth accelerator session, and they say, "Hey, I'm making 5K a month today, and I want to grow my business. I don't know how. Also, guess what? I'm not doing any marketing or sales. I'm not promoting myself at all, right? I'm just going out and either trying to find business or letting it come to me. And there's so many ways for you to kind of like create that persona out in the market. And that one helps you stand out, but also helps you go out and get that work. So, Gabrielle and Lisa, I would love to kind of like focus in here for a minute and talk maybe about like client acquisition strategies and maybe how you two, like Lisa, that was like a great example that you just mentioned, right? Like that is not you like looking for people who are looking for PR partners and like applying to gigs. That was you saying, "Hey, I'm going to build this strategy behind building these relationships. And then when these agencies need somebody in this role, they're going to think of me because I've already built that relationship." Like relationship building is huge. So I would love to just spend a minute here maybe and talk about like other client acquisition strategies, right? How can people go out and find work and market themselves?
I'm just thinking about the health and wellness writer and trying to solve her problem in my head.
Clearly, that got to me too, Gabrielle.
You're like, I'm
I'll
fixated.
those are much easier than my own, right? But I was just thinking like, what would be I before working at Lettuce, I spent 5 years working in digital health. And there is a lot of very, very mediocre health and wellness content out there in the world. And it's hard, just like anything. Everyone thinks like, oh, now you just chat GPT that and you get some content. And it's so bad. We're like, we are living through just an even bigger exponential wave of like mediocre content out there in the world. And it's hard to be heard. Hard, you know, if I'm a brand leader, I'm like, oh yeah, I've made a bunch of mediocre content. No traffic is coming to it. There's probably 5 principles that writer knows about how to write great health and wellness content. Like, what are the 5 key principles of health and wellness content that is useful, meaningful, you know, gets read, whatever the goals are, right? And I would create a playbook. Like, here's the 5 principles, and then you use that playbook to like talk about your thing in LinkedIn, maybe create a downloadable asset so you get people's emails and then you can start a relationship with them. Todd's saying the term is someone has a term called content shock. 1,000%. There's like so much out there. Um, and most of it, there's all kinds of SEO reporting now saying like most of it never gets any clicks, right? You put stuff out there and no one comes. Um, but something like that showcases your expertise, that shows that you have a clear point of view, that can help people who are looking for a solution to this problem find you. And then you've got to use channels to promote it. Like, you use LinkedIn, you use your friends, use your network. I mean, my own personal strategy is about my network. And I am lucky that people that have worked with me before want to work with me again. And I often reach out to those people. I talk to those people. I tell them what I'm up to. I grab a coffee and tell them about something I just did that might spark some idea for them about a problem that they need to solve. Most of my work personally comes through my network, and I know that, and I make sure to nurture it and um, keep the pipeline going by going out and refreshing those contacts and just being helpful to folks. Do you need help with anything? Is something, like, is there anything I can do for you? Because often that's what makes people want to help you later when they need help.
Yes, I want to, Gabrielle, I
You
kind of
see
want
Vanessa's comment? What if your network sucks? I
to, so
have.
that's actually so funny because I was just about to dive in there.
Okay,
So this is actually perfect timing. One thing that I hear from freelancers a lot is I don't have a network. I don't have anyone to tap into. I was just actually talking to a woman in a growth accelerator session, and we were going through, I was like, okay, explain to me what your network looks like. Do you have anybody in your network who are, they're in a similar industry or a similar field or an adjacent field? And she's like, maybe like 8 to 10 people. And so we kind of like dug in there and we started talking. And I was like, 8 to 10 people. I was like, okay, tell me about what you've done in the past. And she's like, well, I worked in-house here for this large company. And then I went to grad school and I got my MBA. And then I've worked with these 6 clients. And I was like, okay, well, you just told me about a very expansive network that you are not considering your network, but they are, right? And so I think a lot of the times when we go into freelancing, we think, hey, nobody around us like has this need, nobody understands what I do. But the truth is, almost all of us, unless you're like at the very beginning of your career, just starting out, have maybe never worked in-house somewhere, you typically have a network that you can tap into. And then that network connects you to a broader network, right? So you have an immediate network, and then you have the connections that they're going to help you make. So what I did when I first started freelancing is I went through my LinkedIn, my previous jobs that I've worked in. I listed out every single person that's in any sort of similar or related field. And then I prioritize them. So I said, okay, these are people who really know me and trust me and understand what I do. I'm going to start there, right? These are people that have maybe been exposed to me. Maybe they don't have inherent trust in me because they haven't worked directly with me, but they know who I am. And then, these are people that I have never worked directly with, but they know my name and I can like, intro myself without it feeling like off or weird. And oftentimes when you go through that exercise and you really start to build it out, you have more people than you think. And a lot of us as freelancers, there are very few of us that need 20 clients a month, right? A lot of us want maybe 3 to 5 to 7 clients a month to make our business work and feel sustainable. And that's if you can get, 2 or 3 clients from your network, that is a great marching place. So I would just, all that to say, I don't want to say that it's easy, because it's not. And also putting yourself out there, it's not easy, right? Like reaching out to these connections is not easy. But I encourage you to think broader when you think about your network, and feel confident in like sending that elevator pitch and reaching out. And then the second thing, Gabrielle, that I love that you mentioned was the offer, right? Whenever I coach people on network activation and how to reach out to people and how to form meaningful relationships, I always tell them there's like a very specific format that I bring them to. And it's, say hello, touch on something that they're doing, spend the time researching. Hey, I saw that you're doing X. I saw that you're building this. I saw that you care about this. I saw that your daughter had a birthday party recently. Whatever it is, right? Like make them feel seen, then tell them what you're doing, make a clear ask, right? So the ask might be, hey, if you know anybody or if you have any work in this field, please let me know. And then make an offer. And I always end with the offer. I always end with what you can do for them, right? So we're kind of, when you think about it, we're like sandwiching things, right? We're saying hello and we're making them feel seen and heard. Then we're pitching ourselves in the middle, and then we're offering something to them. And that's a way that you build a relationship that really feels like it's, that you're opening up like a two-way door. You're not just asking them for something, you're offering something.
I'll just jump in with two quick things. One is I believe in the networking so much,
Yeah.
more than, I mean, personally for me, more than like posting on LinkedIn and doing all that. So there is actually a really good session, not to be really, really salesy, but in the solo summit, there is an entire session on networking that I moderated that was incredible and is a good place to start for a lot of these questions that I'm seeing pop up too. They're in there.
Yeah.
The other thing I would say is some of it is thinking about how to establish a new network. Like for me personally, starting this chapter, the thing that I found the most, and this is the piece of encouragement, is people are a lot more generous than you think that they are.
Yes.
And this has been the best part for me of this chapter of my career, is reconnecting, connecting with new people, having a daily reminder of how incredible people are. And so believe in that. And as you move forward, I think it'll help. Look for ways for it to be validated, and paid communities actually are really good places to find new networks and leads. I just last week pitched with 2 people that I either connected with or reconnected with in a paid community setting. So
Yes.
there are
I think
places where people are gathering and work can come through there.
big one, you can't do this on your own. You need a, like, I find that as a solo, you need a crew. And I have in different chapters of my solo career, I have had a crew of people who I have worked with, who I have brought into projects and who bring me into projects. And oftentimes we've had complementary skills and we've worked together before. And I have passed off really lucrative projects to folks because I knew I wasn't the best person for it, or I didn't have capacity for it. And that comes back to you because this working this way has such an up and down to it that someone else will have something to pass to you if, at some point. Like there is, there is room for us all, is what I deeply believe. And, having that crew of people who are supporting you, and if you find them through your own network or through the paid community, there's different ways to do it. And there are lots of communities for freelancers out there that have a free tier and then more premium tiers that you can plug yourself into.
Yeah. And I wanted to just connecting this back to Solo Summit again, but my specific session in Solo Summit was about finding the right fit clients and where to do that, and kind of this entire topic. So I could obviously talk about this all day, but I did want to drop just some like really tangible communities for people here. Superpath, really great community for writers and content marketers. They are wonderful. Dreamers and Doers is a community specifically for women, like ambitious women who are building their own businesses. Old Girls Club is another great one.
The content that comes out of Old Girls Club is awesome.
So good. It's so good. I'm actually not even a member, and I have gotten people referred to me from people that I know that are in the community. It's really, really wonderful. Um, I feel like I had a couple others on the tip of my tongue, but we can send out resources following this too. But I will say, I do hear a lot that communities are a great source of referrals and building that network, especially like Lisa said, like if you don't have a network today, or you're trying to build a different network that just has a different range, that's a great place to do it. One tip that I will say, and something that you need to realize before joining a network, is that it is not just a take, it's a give. So when you join a community or you join a network, whether it's on Slack or wherever else it may be hosted, make sure that you're going into it with the mindset of I'm going to help other people, and in return, they're going to help me. So, you need to also like be providing value and feedback and contributing in order to get that back, which I know sometimes feels daunting, especially for like my introverted friends, right? Who are like, I don't know how to go out and build connections, maybe even if it's, online. But, I think Gabrielle, you said this, like, or maybe Lisa, I don't remember which one of you said it, but like people are inherently good and they want to help. So like keep that in mind as you go out and like start promoting yourself and building connections. Like people want to help you, and you just have to put yourself out there to let them do that.
That's right. And I think don't get discouraged if you don't see that right away coming back to you. I think there are moments for me where I'm so snowed under by things going on either at work or in my life that I'm not always able to get back to people. And it's not because my answer is no, but it's just 200 emails and however many messages. And I didn't get that far down the list that day. And, so come back to me later, or, a non-response is not a no.
I say that all the time. I love that. Yes.
Keep going. Just keep, come back later, ask different people. I think Lisa's assertion that like people generally want to help is true.
Yeah. I'll say another thing on that note. One thing that I say often is sometimes there's short-term discomfort for long-term gain. So like you might be hearing us talk and you're like, oh, like joining a community and being active in it sounds hard, or creating that elevator pitch, I'm gonna have to sit down and make myself do it, or okay, I know I need to start posting on LinkedIn, but I don't know how. Like the beginning is uncomfortable. Like establishing that strategy, refining your pitch, going out and joining the community, it is all uncomfortable, especially at first, right? But if you get in the mindset that hey, I'm gonna be uncomfortable for a little bit, and I'm gonna push myself past my boundaries to get to where I want to go, which is building a sustainable business that works for me, that I can feel confident in long term, this becomes worth it, right? And it becomes doable, and it becomes easier for us to frame and go out and do when we understand where it's going to lead. Um, okay, one other thing that I want to talk about here, well, a lot of other things that I want to talk about, but I've
I
seen,
know, I'm just like looking at these questions like this could go on for 2 hours.
I know, so true.
Do it again.
Um, and one of the things that I've actually seen come through here, one of the things that I want to talk about, because I know this is a hot topic for most freelancers that I talk to, and a lot of people here, is pricing structures, right? So when we talk about actually getting to that point where we're making, we're having those like 10,000, 12,000, 15,000 plus months, like pricing really comes into play, right? And your pricing is directly connected to how you position yourself and how you articulate that value and the outcome that you're providing for a client. So, Lisa and Gabrielle, I would love to talk a little bit about pricing models. What's worked best for you in the past, maybe where you started to where you went. Let's just kind of dive into pricing.
Yeah, I've really shifted how I price. Early on, I did a lot of hourly pricing, or I tried to like do hourly with a cap or something like that to say like, I think this project is going to take 20 hours, so I'm going to charge you 20 my hourly rate for 20 hours. And, you know, if I misestimated, I'm going to keep going until 30 hours, and then at that point we'll make some agreement about additional work or something like that. I am better at estimating my time now. I think sometimes hourly in the beginning helps you really figure out how long something is going to take you without really undercharging for a project. I think you've got to get good at knowing how fast you can work and also putting the right parameters around it, like how many rounds of revisions you're going to take, how long, like clear. There are some clients who will take forever to get feedback to you, and you can put some parameters in the contract, like feedback needs to be delivered within 7 days, or, and hard to make everyone stick to those agreements, but even harder if you've never put them on the table, put them on the table at all or discuss them. So, um, I think understanding what those parameters are is important. But now I either do a retainer or I do a project fee. I know the value that I can add, and I know the time it takes me to do the work. And I put together a fee that I know will accommodate my time and deliver a really high value for the client so that they want to come back to me for more work. And I
Right.
think part of figuring that out, and some folks have talked about Austin Church and his summit, and he has a book specifically about pricing. But in order to do this well, you need to really understand this isn't like pricing yourself relative to what you were making in your full-time job, because the taxes you owe look different, the expenses you have look different, having to pay for health insurance and the other things that you got as benefits in your job, like you've got to close that gap, and really knowing what your costs are and what you're going to keep of that $5,000 project that you just pitched that is a really critical piece of information to helping you know if you're valuing your time in the right way.
Yes, I that is so important. I have talked to so many freelancers who like maybe they get laid off or maybe they choose to go into freelancing, whatever their path is, and they say, "Okay, my goal is just to make as much as I was making in-house." And for me, I'm like, you know what, that is great because oftentimes freelancing comes with more flexibility. It becomes, it comes with more autonomy, and that's wonderful. And if somebody doesn't have a specific financial goal, that's okay. But what I do see people a lot of times not accounting for are the extra expenses that come with freelancing, right? The health insurance and taxes and things like that. And I'll give a very brief story on my first experience freelancing. But right when I got out of college, I subcontracted for an agency. And so I was a 1099 and I did not understand that I was supposed to put money away for taxes. I honestly just like didn't really understand how it worked. I was 22 years old, and when tax season came, I mean, not a huge tax bill because I wasn't making that much money. But I had a tax bill that was really hard to stomach. And that was a really, really difficult, I learned the hard way what that looks like and how hard it can be. And so I think this is just like a testament. And I want to dive deeper into this in a second, Gabrielle, and you can go really deep here. But like one of the things that's really, really important when you're talking about like a sustainable freelance career is creating the right foundation and like having the right tools to help you do that. And Gabrielle, I want you to talk a little bit about like Lettuce and how that comes into play here, especially as people get to those 10,000, 12,000, $15,000 months where your business really does shift and what you need to do to take care of your business shifts.
Absolutely. And I will say, like, some of the things that are really important that you should do right from the beginning are to separate your business money and your personal money.
Yes.
Open a business bank account and get a business credit card. Full
Boom.
stop. Like having your business and your personal money all mixed together makes it really, really impossible to understand what your expenses are, to understand what you're really making, and to be able to make smart choices about what to do with it. So there are lots of places out there that will give you a free business bank account and, you know, do whatever is right. Any credit card can be a good business credit card. You just want to separate all of those expenses and the income so that you can see it and have a clear view of it. And then the second thing that you can do is use some kind of accounting product that will tell you how much you need to set aside for taxes based on what you're making. And you need to set aside state taxes and federal taxes and Social Security and Medicare taxes, which is the thing that becomes really expensive when you're a freelancer. And I'll tell you why. Everyone who works in the United States pays Social Security and Medicare tax. When you work for someone as a W-2 employee, they pay half and you pay half. So you each pay 7.65% into Social Security and Medicare. When you work for yourself, the government sees you as the employer and the employee. So you pay 15.3% of your income into Social Security and Medicare. It doubles. You pay double the Social Security and Medicare tax. And I'm going to choose a round number because I can do that math in my head. But let's say you make $100,000. You would have, as a full-time employee, paid a little more than $7,000 of that $100,000 into Social Security and Medicare. As a freelancer, you pay $15,300 of that $100,000 into Social Security and Medicare. And this is why we tell people to set themselves up as S Corps. And I'm going to explain what that looks like. I'll talk about first for a minute how the choices you can make about how you set up your business, and then I'll pop up a slide that just shows you some math. So I, for many, many years, operated as a sole proprietor. I didn't set myself up as an LLC. Being a sole proprietor is really easy. You don't have to do anything. There's no fees. There's no paperwork. You say, like, I'm a freelancer. Someone pays you. They give you a 1099 when it's time for taxes, and you just do the thing. You don't have any legal protection as a sole proprietor. If someone, this is rare in marketing and probably in lots of the other industries that we're talking about, the other work that people are doing, it would be really rare for someone to come after me like with a lawsuit and I have business insurance anyway, but for me to have some kind of liability issue in my business would be rare, but I wouldn't have been protected as a sole proprietor. And there are no tax benefits at all to being a sole proprietor. LLC is something that a lot of people do. They set themselves up as an LLC. An LLC is a legal corporate status that is governed by the laws of your state and that protects your personal assets if you have any business liability issue. So, excuse me, I'm getting over a cold. So if that is a concern for you, you should set up an LLC and know that in order to get those protections, you actually have to separate your business and personal finances, which is what we recommended at the start of this. But there's no tax benefits to being an LLC. If you want a tax benefit, you need to set yourself up as an S Corp. And an S Corp is a tax election that you make with the IRS. You fill out a form and you tell the IRS, I want to be taxed as an S Corp. And an S Corp is a tax status that was specifically designed for small businesses. My S Corp has just me as its sole shareholder. And it was designed because the government wanted to give small businesses a way to sort of level the playing field when it comes to those Social Security and Medicare taxes. And I'm going to show you exactly how that works. We'll just look at one slide that has a little bit of math because it's easier to sort of look at this, I find, than to try and understand it when I'm just talking about it. So I'm going to share this one slide that shows you the math about how it works. So if you are working as a sole proprietor or an LLC, when this comes up on the left, you'll see the math for that. The example that I used is someone who's making $175,000, and I don't know why this is so slow right now. And of that $175,000, the government says your taxable income is 92.35% of that. I don't know why. And then you pay self-employment tax of 15.3% on top of that, on that income, right? So in this case that you're looking at on the left, if you're an LLC or a sole proprietor, you would pay $24,768 in addition to the state and federal taxes that you owe. So it doesn't replace those. It's in addition to those two things. So you can already start to see like the taxes are substantial. When you're an S Corp, you split your income into two buckets. You make a salary and an owner's distribution. You pay yourself as an employee of your S Corp. So in this case, your salary might be $70,000 and you only pay that Social Security and Medicare tax on the salary portion of your income. So that would be $10,710 instead of $24,768. The math there is substantial. It's a savings of $14,000. you don't pay the Social Security and Medicare tax on the owner's distribution or the owner's profit. Now, setting yourself up as an S corp is not that hard. There's just some paperwork to do, but like many gifts that the government gives, maintaining the S corp involves a significant amount of bureaucracy and compliance, and you have to pay state payroll taxes, and you have to actually officially run payroll, and you have to keep a lot of records, and there's a lot of forms, and there's extra tax forms. And um, years ago, I had a financial advisor tell me, set yourself up as an S corp. You're really paying way too much tax. And I looked into the work that it was going to take to maintain it. And I said, there's no way I can do this. I was like, will you do it? And she's like, oh no, that's like bookkeeping work. We're a financial advisor. We don't do that work. And so I didn't do it. But now what Lettuce does is automates that work. We use software and we use AI to look at your business, evaluate it, determine the right salary for your business and your income level, automate the taxes. We automatically pay your quarterly taxes. We do all the initial setup for you in an automated way. And we make a tax strategy like S Corps more viable for businesses like yours and mine. And you can see just from the amounts on this slide that there's thinking about taxes as a strategic financial tool can have real benefits. And the goal that we have at Lettuce is to make it easier to access these tax strategies so that solos can have more stable businesses. I've talked a lot, so I'll stop and let people ask questions or let you.
I was seeing a lot of questions come through, and I was seeing Lisa jump in there and answer some of them, which is like really wonderful. But it's, I feel like an S corp specifically is one of those things when okay, kind of everything that we've talked about today are kind of the daunting pieces of freelancing. It's not just going out and doing the work, but it's figuring out how to position yourself, figuring out how to market yourself, being proactive about going out and getting new clients versus reactive, and then setting that foundation. And these things are all hard. I'm not going to sit here and be like, it's easy. You can get your freelance business up and running and moving and grooving in a week. Let's do this, right? Like it's a time commitment, but the thing is, if you are committed to building a sustainable freelance career and you want this to be long term, these things are so important. And Gabrielle, like you said, I did not elect to be taxed as an S corp until I want to say my third year of freelancing. So I left a role as a marketing executive to go freelance. And I started out making decent money freelancing. And it was probably 3 years of me overpaying on taxes. That 3 years of me overpaying on taxes, that might be 20, 30, $40,000. And when you say it that way, that gives you a pit in your stomach, right? Like something that you could, you can pay $300 a month, $400 a month to save yourself, 10,000, 20,000, $30,000. Like, oh, I think you'll notice that what I do a lot when I talk here and when I talk to people one-on-one is like reframing things so that we can think about like what we're doing today, but what the long-term benefit of that is. Again, remember short-term discomfort, long-term opportunity. And we just have to think about that. Like the actions that we take today are going to save us money or headaches or time in the future. And that is worth it, especially if we're committed to our business.
100%.
Yeah, I've got a reframe that worked well for me, actually, that started with becoming an S Corp. In that I started, and I was thinking about this, we're talking about pricing structure. I try to think about what's my business structure. So what do I need to set up my business to work for me and how I want to live and how I need to finance my family? Having an S Corp and saving $10,000, well, that helps, right? Because then that's money that's going back into our family's budget. When
Yeah.
I'm thinking about client structures, I like having a couple that are on retainer because that's money I can plan on. Then I like taking projects because that's places where I can learn or I can make some fast money or I can play with pricing, like how much can I charge for this and try to amp it up. And then I'm thinking about with my repositioning, what's more passive income that I can do? are there slides or decks that I can create, that I create them and do easy updates, or I can sell them, as one-offs. So thinking about it holistically and becoming a business, becoming an official business as an S Corp changed my mindset to force me to think about myself that way and not just like, how do I get that next job? How do I really, I started thinking more about how do I establish myself as a business? And then once I do that, how do I push myself to be creative in the same way a business owner would?
Lisa, that kind of gave me goosebumps, honestly. That was such an art. Like I feel like you started out this session being like, I'm still figuring it out and I'm working on my positioning and what I want to do. And you ended the session with like, you know what you're doing. You view your business a very specific way. You view different pricing and different opportunities different ways for different reasons. You are taking like a very holistic and well-rounded approach to what you want to do and why, and you're separating out like, hey, this is like my main income generator, but also here are my learning opportunities. Also, like here are maybe like my long-term things that I'm investing in because they're gonna, result in passive income. And it's such a beautiful mindset to get into as a freelancer.
I also am a PR person by trade, Sam. I can talk to you. Whether or not I actually deliver on it's a different thing.
Hey, the mindset is like the first part, right? Like reframing things in our mind and knowing where we need to go and what we want to build. I find a lot of times when I work with freelancers, and myself, I work with a coach as well, that a lot of times we have a lot of thoughts rumbling around, right? We're like, I don't know how to do this. I kind of want to do this. I kind of want to do this. And sometimes we just need to like put them to paper and build a plan. And I know a lot of freelancers don't like the concept or idea of a plan because we want to have freedom and flexibility, and that's great. But freedom and flexibility often come from having a plan, right? It's like cart horse. You need a plan to get there to have these things. And I think you just like articulated that really well. Well, I know this went by so fast. I know we
I
only
told you
have,
we could have gone 2 hours. We didn't even get to all the good questions.
I know there's topics that we didn't even like hit on that we wanted to. There's so many good questions in the chat. Um, Here's what I will say. We are going to send up a follow-up. I think Lisa and Gabrielle are going to send a follow-up. I'm going to send a follow-up. We're going to coordinate on our follow-ups. And I know that there are like a ton of good questions here and follow-up questions. When we send that follow-up, if you had a question today that was not answered, send it to us, please. Like we are here to help you. We're here to help you like establish the right structure. We're here to help you, figure out how to position yourself, how to go get business. This collective group, we do a lot of the work to help you do that, but we also have other external resources to help you. And so I really encourage you, like, put yourself out there. When we send the follow-up, we'll send the recording. If you had questions here that didn't get answered, send them over and we'll do our best to work through everything. And with that, Gabrielle and Lisa, I want to give you a moment to like kind of like reiterate, who you are and what you do and what people can come to you for. And then I'll kind of close after that.
Thank you so much, Samantha. This has been amazing. I will say to folks who there's a lot of S Corp specific questions here. Our website at lettuce.co has a ton of great resources, and I do a regular webinar about S Corps. It's an S Corp 101. We answer all the questions that I've seen fly by in the chat. So if you want to sign up for that, I would love to see you there. And I will say that the advice I often give to folks who are in this journey and trying to figure it out and feel like they're really struggling through it, the thing that I wish I had someone tell me early in my career is bet on yourself. You will take better care of yourself than anyone. You are the only one who will make sure you're making the right amount of money, who knows what you're capable of, who knows what's possible for you in your career. Other people don't know that. Bet on yourself and figure it out. It's well worth the work that it takes to get there.
Amazing. Lisa?
Um, I will just end with 2 more pieces of encouragement. One is um, change, viewing change as empowering helps in this world. Like everything is changing so quickly under our feet that that can be good for us too. We don't have to commit to anything right now, and you can always reposition yourself. Um, The other is that people are generous. There's always people here to help, and even more in the freelancing community because we're all in it together.
I love that so much. And just one last kind of like exit message for me. I'm the co-founder of Harlow. Again, we are a home for freelancers, specifically helping you find new clients, grow your business, and turn it into a thriving long-term business. Obviously, that's why I'm here partnering with Lettuce today, right? We're focused on the same goals and helping people in the same way. But if you need, more one-on-one, hands-on tailored support, I do that through my growth accelerator. I do 45-minute sessions with freelancers to break through their specific barriers. If you're interested in that, I am happy to chat with you. Outside of that, again, we have a ton of resources. We have the newsletter, which I know a lot of you are already subscribed to, which is amazing. The job board, which has like daily drops of jobs that you can see somewhere else other than, like LinkedIn or something similar. Um, and then, of course, our product. So using something like Harlow and Lettuce together kind of gives you like a well-rounded foundation for your business, somewhere to like lock in clients and manage those clients, and then somewhere to actually like manage that foundation and your payroll and your bookkeeping. So if you're interested in learning about like how those tools can work together, we're also here to talk about that. So again, we're at 11 o'clock here, so I'm going to let everyone go. But again, if you had questions today, they did not get answered, please send them over to us. We want this to be like an ongoing conversation with you. So awesome.
Having
Thank
us,
you so
Sam.
much, everybody.